was actually kind of coming off heroin a bit, so I was drinking a lot of tequila, and I'd fallen asleep, but someone had taken my tequila with them, and in Los Angeles, at 2 o'clock in the morning, they stopped selling. You can't get alcohol till 6 in the morning. I knew when I woke up at like 2 o'clock or something that I knew I couldn't get any more, and I was just flipping out. and I just got really upset, and I was taking all these windows out with my elbow. Smashed the television. The door was hanging off its hinges by the morning, and so I thought they were coming to get me. I really did, but they didn't take any notice of me. It was like, and then I found out, it's because they're searching for evidence to do with the fact that John Belushi had died that night in one of the other hotels.
Robin!
Billy, baby!
Billy Idol! How you doing, man? What's up, Billy?
Oh, I'll take a hug, too. It's been so long, brother. How are you? Good to see you. All right.
Take a seat.
Jim is very affectionate. That's why I gave you a nice warm hug.
I haven't seen you in many years. Look how many years it's been since I've seen you. That's the last time I saw you. That was 2001.
Let me see that picture, Jimmy.
That's from NEW.
Yeah, we've interviewed Billy Idol
many years.
Many times over the years. You don't age, Billy. What's going on with you?
Yeah, I'm just very well preserved, I think. Pickled.
You're pickled? Would you ever get a Funkin'? We were talking about Funkins just before you came up.
Billy, did you ever you have been with a lot of women in your life. Have you ever gone pumpkin picking, like around Halloween?
No, I haven't done that, no.
Apple picking?
No.
No, because he's a rock star.
What?
He's busy.
Why are you taking it out on me?
He was busy banging chicks. He didn't have time to go pick pumpkins.
Well, they have a new thing called Funkins. They're not even real pumpkins, but they're fun. They're fun for everybody, and you could carve them too. They're made out of foam. All right.
See, that's the reaction we should be getting from Billy. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
These women that you've been with, though, you are in committed relationships, I hope?
Yeah, well, yes.
Okay, good. That's important.
Billy, you think with the women you've been in your whole life, you think you have Hall of Fame numbers? Like if you were a baseball player?
Well, I can't even think how many.
But you think, if you had a guess, would you say you'd probably get in the Hall of Fame?
I hope so.
First year, first ballot?
First ballot, yeah.
Yeah.
Or did they make you wait a couple years, you think?
Hopefully straight in. I mean, the numbers I've got. Somewhere.
That's beautiful.
You got good number. Do you have a good market? Like, is there one place that's the best for you out of all the places?
It was like the whole world at one point.
It really was.
Incredible.
Just anywhere you went.
Who was the hottest chicks? What country has the hottest chicks?
Oh God, there's so many countries have so many hot chicks. That's the best thing about it all.
Really?
And we go everywhere. So
he doesn't want to ruin his chances for the future.
Exactly.
He barely had time to write music. He was getting so much action.
You didn't.
Jesus.
We didn't read the book because we got it late. So, but you know, we know enough about you. You say you didn't use a ghostwriter, and you were pretty adamant about that.
Yes, yeah, I did it myself. Yes, 100%.
Good for you. Not a lot of people are doing it that way these days. They get that ghostwriter to tell their story.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a valid way of doing it. It's just
not really, to be honest with you.
All right, great. Being nice.
No, this is a compliment to you. I appreciate when someone actually takes the time and they write their own book. No, I like it this way much better.
Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. I had to challenge myself to do it, but yeah, there's a payoff in doing it, and it's kind of interesting for me to be involved in a new medium, really. It's a completely different medium to music, so it's like, going into an unknown land and seeing if you can even remotely do it, and to have sort of got there and actually have a book sitting there, and so far people seem to be enjoying it. That's pretty wild, actually. Wild experience.
How did you remember all these stories being, that messed up in the late 80s and 90s and stuff?
Well, there's a lot that's not there. I mean, there's a lot that I don't remember, but these are the things I can just about remember.
Did you have an editor just kind of go over it and structure it a little bit?
Yes, I did have an editor, David Falk, who very much, helped me sort through what was good about the book and, what should be in it and everything. And then even he did suggest to me when we got near the ending of things, what he was looking for as the editor. And so that we did very much work on it together. But he wanted it to be my work. That's what he wanted, to be editing my work, not writing it for me, and that's exactly what I did. I did write it myself.
You can tell that so many celebrity books just don't sound like that person at all. They have no connection other than the story. And like, I don't mind if they put written by, but a lot of them, want to act like they wrote it themselves. I gotta respect someone that just does the work.
You could tell there's definitely a big difference. I found it fascinating that I didn't realize how addicted to heroin you were.
Yeah, yes. I did get very addicted to drugs. Yes, heroin being one of them. Yeah,
but it was early on. I mean, it was right after Dancing with Myself. It was early on in your career. And, and you were still able to, get things done. Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing about the music world back then, especially. The people didn't see it as so odd for people to be, on a lot of drugs doing music. It was kind of like par for the course back then, believe it or not. And there's a lot of people being like that. I mean, in fact, the whole rock world was kind of like that, really. And that's people kind of accepted it more. I don't know if they would accept it today so much.
Well, were you shooting or just snorting? Because some guys
just snorting mainly. That's what I was doing. I was always a little bit. I thought shooting up was just going a little bit too far, like getting too serious almost. Because I was really doing it for fun. I was only ever doing it to sort of like fuel my life, to get experiences, so I could write more songs. So you were doing it for a purpose, really, sort of somehow. That's what I told myself anyway.
And you quit heroin by doing coke, like you don't want to go through the withdrawal. So
I did at one point,
coke.
in the Whiplash Smile, at the end of the Whiplash Smile album. Yeah, I did. It was a disaster, of course. I mean, like,
so you went from heroin, and then you said, "Let me go to coke, so I don't have to go through the withdrawals."
I was just trying to not. I'd taken a lot of heroin quite consistently for quite a few months, so I knew it was going to be terrible getting off it, and I couldn't face it. I was a bit of a coward when it gets such a horrible experience getting off. And if you smoke something like coke, you don't feel the heroin withdrawals; they disappear completely. And so that's what I was doing. Of course, eventually I did get off the coke, and then I had actually got away from the heroin addiction, sort of, but then I was a complete alcoholic for a while, so it's always swings to the sides. That's the problem with drug taking.
But then also you started smoking coke because your nose kept bleeding, so you couldn't put it up your nose anymore?
I was just snorting coke to get over the heebie-jeebies of the heroin, but then actually what really works to get over the heebie-jeebies, if you smoke coke, you don't feel... it disappears completely, the withdrawal symptoms from the heroin. It just goes. I suppose you're replacing something equally as powerful. I don't know.
How could you perform like that? Like, I'm always amazed guys can go on stage, fuck it up. Which of those things was the easiest to perform with, and which was the hardest?
The thing is, with heroin or something like that, you can maintain on it, and you're really just taking a small amount to not be sick, and it basically makes you normal, that's all. And then you have to take a lot more to get stoned. So a lot of the time you're maintaining on it, and you're quite normal. To other people, you're just normal. You're just, to you, you're just not being sick.
Right.
Yeah. So you can almost be a functioning addict, actually, in a weird way, especially back then. I don't know if people would accept it so much now. I mean, they know the pitfalls of it all a bit more.
Do you remember the first time you did heroin?
Yeah, it was actually with, he's dead now, Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy.
Oh, yeah, right, of course.
We were coming from the Blitz Club in London, and I was going back to his house, me and my girlfriend, and that. And he put out like a line in the car. He put out a line on the, between the front seats, on the hard piece or whatever. He put out a line there. I thought it was coke, so I snorted it, and then a few minutes later I said, "Can you just pull the car over? I'm feeling a bit sick." And he started laughing then, and then. But then we carried on all night doing it with being, alternatively sick into a waste paper basket and talking, and then wait a minute, blood, and then so we had a great night. But and he sort of suckered me into doing it. But then I found out how great it was. I didn't do it after that for a while, but then 6 months later or so, I started to
creep in,
and then you got addicted to it. Really.
You puke every time? I never did heroin.
You do. Not every time, but quite a lot. Yeah, you get this watery kind of sick whap. You kind of whap, and it's gone.
And then it's gone, and the high kicks in, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that is crazy.
Not always. Once you get used to it, you're not sick anymore. It's just when you first do it, you can get sick. But
and you've
get used to it very quickly.
You've admitted that you're not totally off drugs and drinking, right?
I'm not just, I smoke a bit of pot sort of thing. I'm just not going crazy. Have a glass of wine with a dinner at a restaurant or something. I'm just kind of not going crazy. I've tried to put it all on the back burner. I've got a lot of people around me. Steve Stevens in my group is sober, and Billy Morrison in my group, the other guitarist, he's sober as well. So I've got a lot of people around me who are doing that. I did go to AA in the 90s, and I did sort of understand where I did sort of see that I had to kind of get away from everything a little bit, and otherwise it was going to destroy me. And but still, it's nice to think that I can possibly, like I say, I can just do a small amount of things and just not go over the top. And I've sort of been there and done it, really overdid it, actually.
There's a story in the book where you go in the recording studio, Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood are recording a new Stones record, and you piss Keith Richards off because you're all fucked up.
Yeah, because I was really high on. I'd gone into their toilet at this recording studio, and I used to walk around New York with a satchel which had my pipe, butane torch, and I had 20 or so rocks made up, so I could at any moment in the day fire up, and so I did that. I sort of wanted to level out. I was feeling a bit, I don't know, I went into the toilet to level out, and I came out as high as a kite. And I know that from reading Life, Keith Richards' book, that he doesn't like people who smoke coke. He really doesn't like it. So I think he could probably see I was high as a kite, and I don't know, we started to have some sort of, next minute I was having words with him. I couldn't believe it. There's part of me was doing it, and there's part of me looking at myself going, what are you doing? You couldn't stop yourself. It's just the drug had taken control and was making you crazy. So after that, I didn't come out of my apartment for a few weeks. I was like, fuck that, don't come out of your apartment. Stay there, stay as high as a kite on your own in this sort of weird solitude I made for myself. So.
Have you seen him since?
No, I've seen Ronnie Wood though since, because I was kind of friendly with Ronnie Wood.
Were you embarrassed that you had an argument with Keith Richards?
Well, it's just silly. I hope they know it. I mean, I think they know it was a drug sort of thing. I'm sure he, I could see from his book Life, Keith Richards doesn't like people who smoke coke. No. He really hates it. So, but I'm sure as a drug addict himself, he must know the pitfalls of what we're all going through. Really.
Did you ever hang out with Sam Kinison back in the day?
I did. Yes, I was quite friendly with Sam for quite a while.
You guys must have some crazy parties, huh?
Yeah, we had a great time. It was fantastic. It was great. It's just a bit of a sad thing in the end. He could get very jealous because he was doing tons of blow, and it would make him paranoid. And he'd always think someone was trying to steal his girlfriend, and he usually didn't think I was. But eventually, we used to go and perform with him because we did Wild Thing with him, right. And we'd get up and do Money Money, and then we'd do Wild Thing with him. We'd gone to Las Vegas actually to perform with him, and then. He had a girlfriend, and she had a sister, and they used to dress up as Las Vegas showgirls, and I sort of like, in this women's performance, a Wild Thing with Sam soloing like crazy, 3 times louder than anybody else. I was just sort of like dancing in between his girlfriend and her sister, just trying to be cool. But I could see he was getting angry, and then he hit my guitar player. That's who he could get to, and he kind of hit him, and then we just sort of said, we're not here for a fight. I wasn't doing anything. He's kind of got a bit paranoid. So we tried to leave Las Vegas. That's where we were, and then we couldn't leave that night. And then I saw Frank Sinatra's playing at the Sands, which was where we were staying. And so that night we went and saw the chairman of the board. If Sam hadn't have hit my guitar player, I'd never seen Frank Sinatra. So it's kind of like, it was an incredible performance. It was a brilliant performance. So good old Sam. But I loved him, and it was just a bit of a shame. And then it was sad soon after he passed away. So it was sad.
So Sinatra, were you a fan before? I mean, I'm not a big Sinatra fan, but it seems like a lot of guys.
Well, it was just incredible to get to see him, and he was in good voice and seemed to be having the whale of a time, and he was probably in his 70s, mid-70s or so, and, it was kind of heartening for me to see, people, wow, he's still singing and he's enjoying it. In fact, he seemed to be really enjoying it, and it was just very heartening to see that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, he did all those classic songs too. I mean, the
Summer Breeze. Come on, let's go.
All of them. 17. He did everything. Yeah, right. 17. It was a very good year. He did them all. It was incredible.
Would you ever cover a song like that?
I don't know if my voice is really quite as good as he was the king sort of that music, I think. So I think I love rock and roll, really. So.
Billy, how long have you been at it now?
Well, now nearly 40 years. I mean,
almost 40 years. That's
38 or so. 38, I think it is at the moment.
How was it with all those videos on MTV? That was a crazy time, right?
It was a lot of fun, yes. And you can imagine we had girls dressed in scantily clothed in the video, and then the ladies would come to the concert scantily clad. So it was all like, ooh.
I'm learning more and more about that time where you guys had to pay for these videos. MTV wasn't paying for them, and in a lot of cases the record companies weren't.
No, that's right. We were paying for them.
That was a huge expense because a lot of these videos were over $1 million a pop.
They ended up, yes, getting more and more expensive, especially as, you know, like Michael Jackson and people had Pepsi backing them or whatever. They could make these almost mini movies.
Right.
So it got very like that. It
competitive.
Came about how much money people are putting in them, not about their content or the song in a way. It got sort of quite ridiculous, but they were fun to make. We had a lot of fun making them, and and it pushed the fashion side of what we were doing as much as the music. So you sort of like were able to show people, you know, this is what we're into fashion-wise in a way, along with your music. It was exciting.
Right. And if you got a video on
and
MTV,
Billy didn't fall in that category. It was like new wave or like hard rock, and Billy was kind of in the middle of that. Like
absolutely.
The rockers, even the hard rock and the metal guys, still like Billy Idol, and he wasn't. You were like right in the middle there, with your videos and your songs and stuff.
Yes, yes.
You had hot chicks in there, you know what I mean, and good songs. So I was a big metalhead, but I always loved Billy Idol. I'm like, because he was cool and
always hot chicks.
Yeah, crawl all over him.
Right.
He's hanging out with Kinison. I'm like, this guy's an animal.
Beautiful.
I love him. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I always thought it would be embarrassing making a music video because you have to just keep singing the same thing over and over again in front of people. Or it always seemed like there's certain things you do in videos that you have to do in the video to make it work. But just the act of doing it seems like, oh, that'd be fucking hard to do, like to point at people and sing like in a diner or whatever it is that they have you doing.
Well, you just throw your stage act into things. That's all you do, really. You've got a way of being on stage. Just throw that into it. So it's more second nature than anything. You do have a way of performing. That's what you rely on.
How long have you been, like, one of the things too is you were like involved like with email and all this stuff like way before most guys in the business, like with technology. You kind of embrace it. You didn't. You kind of used it to your advantage early.
Yeah, I did, yes. I was thinking I was one of the first artists to even put my email address on the album of Cyberpunk, this album I made. So, yes, very much embraced new ways of making music and, always looking to the future. I think that's part of the punk rock spirit we kind of hung on to from the punk rock days, was that this idea you're always on a bit of a frontier with your music.
Yeah. Did you know John Belushi?
No, I didn't, but it's a shame. I would have loved to have known him.
Yeah, you guys were slightly connected because you were partying at
we were both
at the chateau the same night he died.
Yeah, I just sort of smashed up a room at the Chateau Marmont. I was at the sort of in these bungalows there at the front of the hotel, and I'd actually had a bit of a wild night, and my room was all smashed up. They were going to throw me out, but right at the moment they were going to throw me out, this whole thing happened because John Belushi had passed away in a much more expensive bungalow towards the back of the hotel, and they soon forgot about me. But it was very sad because, I only really just got to understand how huge he was, because in England we didn't always see those early Saturday Night Lives. We saw the Blues Brothers and their albums, but it was when I came to America, and then they were showing all the late night, every night on television in the 80s, the early 80s, they were showing every night a Saturday Night Live, the old ones, so I got to see them all, and I really understood how brilliant he was, and it was very sad, and I was kind of there almost on the scene, standing there naked on the scene with the police searching thinking they were coming to get me, and they weren't.
Why were you naked?
I just. Why were you naked? It was a wild night. It was one hell of a wild night.
I assume he's naked a lot there, Florentine.
So you trashed the. What did you do to trash? I'm always fascinated with rock stars trashing the hotel rooms. What did you do to trash the room?
I was actually kind of coming off heroin a bit, so I was drinking a lot of tequila, and I'd fallen asleep, but someone had taken my tequila with them, and in Los Angeles, you 2 o'clock in the morning, they stopped selling. You can't get alcohol till 6 in the morning. I knew when I woke up at like 2 o'clock or something that I knew I couldn't get any more, and I was just flipping out. and I just got really upset, and I was taking all these windows out with my elbow. Smashed the television. The door was hanging off its hinges by the morning, and so I thought they were coming to get me. I really did, but they didn't take any notice of me. It was like, and then I found out, it's because they're searching for evidence to do with the fact that John Belushi had died that night in one of the other hotels, one of the other bungalows.
Was that the only hotel room you ever trashed in your career?
No, there's quite a few. So when leaving us debris behind me wherever I went, at one point.
Why do you guys got to trash the hotel room?
I don't know, back then it was that you have to take all your frustrations out on the furniture. It was just, I don't know. No, didn't do it all the time, but there's a few times I did it, and I mean, nowadays they've got your credit card, so you don't want to do it.
Now they don't care if you do it. Fine, we'll just buy new shit.
We'll buy real nice stuff
more
with your credit card. It just became a rite of passage for you guys or something. Who started? Was it Zeppelin officially?
I think the Who.
Was it the Who that started? And then you guys all felt like, all right, we gotta do our own thing now too. Man,
what's the most it ever cost you?
There's a few in Thailand. I actually had this journey to Thailand I took where where we started smashing up shit in Thailand, and how I wasn't I actually got escorted out of the country on a gurney. I was comatose on a gurney with the Thai military platoon escorting me out of the country to get. I was so lucky they didn't put me in prison. They just ejected me from the country because I was becoming too much trouble. And it's all in that book. It's all in my book, Dancing with Myself. You can read all about my shenanigans.
And you can see Billy today at noon, by the way. He's doing signings, but today, Barnes & Noble on 5th and 46th here in New York. And this Saturday, if you're out in L.A., it's a great independent place called Book Soup in L.A. And then Monday the 13th at 6 and 7 p.m. at Changing Hands in Tempe, Arizona. So again, today in New York, go at noon and you get to get your book signed.
This book's is going to be a great read. I can't wait now.
Yeah, because you're really honest, and those are always the books that are the best. Of the guys.
Do you spend a lot of time on your childhood?
Not too much.
Good.
Just enough. I think
just enough, right?
It's only 323 pages, which I think it's a good length. It's a right length. Any more and it would get boring. It's a nice length.
Yeah. Good.
Well, one good thing about a childhood, he lost his virginity to Moni Moni, and then he wound up covering the song later.
Oh wow, really?
Was that the reason why you decided to cover that song?
Yeah, kind of partly, yes.
Yeah, wow. It's a good thing I'm not a singer. I'd have to do taps.
How old were you?
Good old Tommy James.
Probably about 13 and a half, 14 or something.
That early you
like
lost your virginity? I couldn't get anything fucking
so.
Done at that age.
Well, how old was she, though?
She's probably about the same age.
Same age. Okay, it wasn't like some fucking babysitter or something.
No, it was actually...
Were you quick, though, or did you get,
Yeah, I had a bit of trouble getting it in there because I hadn't done it before, really, although I told her I had, and then she went, let me do it, and she got on top of me and basically shagged me. So
wow.
Now I realise how wild women truly are, Did
you last the whole song, or...?
It's a short song, bro.
Yeah,
probably
like
not. No.
I heard the opening riff.
Were you worried about knocking girls up when you were on the road, or were you just kind of reckless?
Yeah, probably quite reckless, really, when I think about it. Probably quite reckless.
Do you think you might have a couple out there?
I don't think so. No, I'm sure they would have, now DNA testing, they would have come forward or something, but so I don't think so. But
you ever with 3 chicks at the same time?
Oh, yeah. It was, yes. I did,
What's the most?
Oh, God, we used to have knockdown orgies. There was, we used to, in the studio, at one point, doing Charmed Life, it was a non-stop orgy. We'd get all these girls from a strip bar to come down, and they weren't used to being naked, so they soon would strip off their clothes, and we were using the studio as a kind of a, orgy room. Turned this orgy room, we tried our mixers on them, an orgy. It was great.
But it was great the way that question, when he said, "Have you ever been with 3?" The way you had to think it, it was just that's almost like saying, "Have you ever tried pot?"
Yeah,
That was such a fucking an amateur thing to only do with 3 girls.
So how do you get work done when you got all that going on in the studio?
So it was a little bit slow, that album.
Yeah.
But I guess for good reasons, though. For good reasons, you know what I mean? If you like writing songs slow because you just can't stop coming, I mean, that's not a bad reason to be going slow.
That's right.
I'm sure a record company understood, like, all right, it's extra $100,000, but look at these chicks I banged.
Yeah, in the end we had a hit single on it and everything, so that's what they really
That's all they cared about. Yeah, they don't care how you got there as long as you got a hit single.
As long as you got the hit single.
And you're still doing music. You got a new.
Yes.
What do we call them these days? You can't really. I guess you call it an album, even though it's not an album. But Kings and Queens of the Underground, right?
Yes.
That's coming out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, October the 21st. Yeah.
New song's really good. And Steve Stevens is one of the most underrated guitar players out there.
That's right.
I think and stuff. He's great, man.
Yeah, I think on this album you really get to see all the many textures that he can bring to an album. From his hard rock playing to his supersonic guitar effects to his flamenco, and I think we've got a lot of it in here. All his guitar textures are pretty wonderful on this record. And
Billy Morrison's in the band too. He's great.
That's right. Yeah, it's really good fun having him in the group too. It's great. Kind of a connection to my punk past because he's from a similar place to me in London. Bromley and New Eltham are very close to each other, and even though he's 10 years younger than me, he was he's bunking into all the punk rock gigs back then, so he was on the scene, so we very much got a connection with that,
What kind of place in London are you from?
Bromley in Kent. It was just out, sort of like just on the outskirts of London. You put 20 minutes on a train ride and you're in the centre of London.
So was it a good area, or was it a rough area?
It's a sort of combination area,
But what I found weird is that you lived on Long Island you were just I think you were 2 or something like that. But that's
we're very young, 3 to.
But what brought your family to Long Island for a couple of years?
I don't know exactly. My dad had had a bit of a letdown in business, I think, and my mother's Irish, so a lot of her sisters and brothers had moved to New York, to Brooklyn or wherever, and so a lot of her relatives were here. The O'Sullivans were here, and I think that may have been partly why we came here. I know my dad had this upsetting business, and we came here and lived on Long Island for a few years, and then we went back to England.
That's crazy.
Did they get to see you make it, your parents? Are they still living or no?
My dad passed away this summer, unfortunately.
Oh, wow, okay.
But my mum's still going strong. So.
All right, so they both at least saw how well you did.
Yes.
Oh, boy, do they.
Well, it's always heartbreaking when you hear, like, someone that, went out to do it and their parents died, like, a month before they hit big or whatever, It's...
Yeah, no, they they lived through... Like
the
you
craziness.
said to me, it's pretty wild living through your exciting life vicariously, or whatever he said to me,
Yeah, that's nice.
Absolutely.
Well, Billy, if you want to meet him today, I would say go down to Barnes & Noble, 12 o'clock, and you will get the 46th and 5th Avenue. And again, when is the LA one? I just had the sheet in front of me and I don't have it.
The LA one is Saturday at 4 o'clock, Book Soup in Los Angeles.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's called Dancing with Myself, and you're really honest, and that's just so nice.
Love it.
A lot of guys just don't want to tell certain stories, and I like the fact that you kind of talk about anything.
I tried to be as honest as I could, as candid as I could, and hope that makes for the well-rounded sort of personality you're seeing, my foibles for good and my foibles for bad as well. So I hope you see that. Yeah, it makes for a rounded book,
Were there certain things that you had originally written and went like, no?
There were some things. I mean, the manuscript is 3 times bigger than the book. It was 198,000 words, so there's quite a lot that's not in it. So, I really worked at it for 6 years or so. And,
oh, wow.
Not continuously or anything, but, over that 6-year period, I really worked at it. And but we've distilled it down to what's essential, I think, and that's what's in this book. So I think my editor did a great job, and I'm very sort of proud of it, really.
Well, you're used to writing too, writing songs and music for all these years, so it's not a foreign thing. But were you good at sitting down and going, all right, I got to do this for 3 hours today? Or if you just thought of something, would you just fucking write it?
Yeah, well, it's a different process to writing songs, really, but I just sort of challenged myself to do it, and so I got myself in. I was going to do it, and I can't even type fast, so it probably took 2 years to type what I was typing, let alone the other 4 years was thinking about it.
Very cool.
When you were writing songs, when you were writing songs, was it easier? I mean, when you were high on heroin and coke and stuff like that, could you still be productive writing?
Well, yeah, a lot of times when you're high on heroin, you're not always, comatose. You sometimes, especially, because you get sick if you don't take any. So if you take a very small amount, it actually just makes you normal. So, sometimes you're just maintaining, and you're just normal, really, writing songs. You're not high writing them, you're just normal. So I wrote songs before I got high, and I've written songs since I've got high, so it's nothing really to do with being high. I think it's just, breaking all the rules if we could, just why not? We were young, there are no rules. I'm single, I don't care,
Can you bang chicks on heroin or no? Or is it like coke?
Actually, you can really go for a long time, because it kind of prevents you coming. So then when you really do come, it's pretty explosive. So
can we take? I got to take one phone call from Lori in New York. We got Billy Idol in studio. Lori, go ahead.
Hi, how are you?
Good. We got Billy.
Hello, Lori.
Hi, Billy.
Hi.
Back in the beginning of the summer, you played a concert in my little town of Lewiston, New York, at Art Park.
Yes.
And great show, and you are, oh my God, you're in great shape. Love the body. Great performance. You had a young girl running around back by your trailer in a bunny costume.
That's Steve Stevens' wife, Josie. She's a pretty wild dresser. She's fantastic.
Wow.
She was running around behind some of the kiosks where they were selling food, and then when she realized that we had seen her, she kind of freaked out and ran away, and we were just kind of wondering what that was all about.
Oh, I don't know then. Of course.
She just likes running around in a bunny costume.
Yeah, I like the idea of things like that.
All right, that's it, huh, Lori?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, you really like Billy's body. What would you do if you had the chance?
I couldn't even tell you.
You what?
I'm married, so I don't want my husband to hear it, but no, you look awesome, Billy. I got to tell you, it was incredible, and he sounded great. Sounded just like Billy. So
thank you, love.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Would you put it? I don't know. Put it in your mouth or something.
If you weren't married, and Billy was like tired and a little lonely, would you maybe put it in your mouth?
Right.
yeah, maybe I would.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Have you masturbated? Have you masturbated to him since you saw him in concert with that nice body?
That's a wonderful question.
Yeah.
I have not.
Okay.
But now that you mentioned it,
It's not a bad idea. I'm going to try it right after the show as well.
Would you? I don't know. Take the helmet where the shit comes out.
Yeah, would you let Billy do that to you? He's an icon.
He is an icon.
Ooh.
wow. No.
Think Dancing with Myself. Think Dancing with Myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the happiness he's brought you over the years.
I know, and you can't even eat his ass. You're not a good fan.
What the hell, man? It's just a little helmet. It's just a little helmet where the poo comes out. I mean, come on.
Jesus, some fan you are.
Yeah, what the hell?
I'd blow Ozzy. I'm not gay.
All right, Laura.
Thanks a lot.
There you go. I don't know why she's not answering these questions.
I know. Billy's doing a U.S. tour in January starting, right? You got a whole
late
lot
January.
going out.
Playing the Beacon, I think 28th.
Right, you got to all around the country, too, so.
Is it still exciting to get out there?
Yeah, it is.
After all these
still
years?
Fun, yeah, still fun, yeah.
You like to travel and all that?
That's getting a bit more difficult, but we're still doing it, and I think we don't tour like for months and months on end like we did at one time in the 80s, so it's more reasonable, so you can do it.
So you get excited.
Yeah, you do get excited about
all
it.
right, we should get Billy out of here.
Yeah, honestly,
the book is going to be amazing. I can't wait to. I will absolutely read it. It's called
Dancing with Myself. It's great.
I'm so happy that you wrote it yourself too. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Thank you.
And you got the new record, Kings and Queens of the Underground.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Billy.
The Virus. Sirius XM. This